guys, today I'm here with the Smittybilt SRC Gen2 tube doors fitting all 2007 to 2018 two-door and four-door JKs. Tube doors are always a great option if you're looking for some extra security while you're driving around on the street or you're bouncing around on the trail and you still want to enjoy that open air driving experience. They'll also be great to open up a lot of visibility while you're out on the trail so you can see where you're crawling around. These tube doors specifically will come with a removable vinyl panel that will give you a ton of protection on the outside from low-hanging obstacles or any brush on the trail, and they'll come with Molly and Pal style attachments on the inside because we can never have enough storage in or outside of our Wrangler. Not to mention, with or without this removable panel, these will definitely give you an aggressive off-road look. So at the moment, just the front pair is going to be roughly $360. So on the page, you see that tube doors can range anywhere from $250 to $400. So this will be at a higher price point. However, personally, I think with the fit and the functionality of these doors, as well as the durable vinyl panel, that these are going to be worth the money. So I would like to mention, if you do have a four-door and you're looking for the rear tube doors to match, that price will double. However, if you do have a two-door, or if you have a four-door and you're looking to get the front and save a couple of bucks and get the tube doors later, this is going to be a great option for you. Install is going to be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter with nothing but a couple of hand tools. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. Tools that we used for our install were a rubber mallet, a 17mm wrench, a 13mm wrench, a ratchet, a flathead screwdriver, a 5/32 Allen key, a 12mm socket, a 13mm socket, a 16mm socket, a 17mm deep socket, and an impact wrench. So the first step to installing our Smittybilt tube doors is to get our factory doors off. So one of the first things that you want to do is disconnect your door harness. And then we can remove our limiting strap from this hook. So to completely unattach the door from the hinges, it will be held in by 2 bolts underneath the hinges. We take our doors off very frequently, so we don't have that hardware attached. However, it will be removed with a T55 Torx bit. So since we are swapping our mirrors over to our new tube doors, I figured I would remove the mirror now while we have the door stable on the hinges. So I'm going to be using a 12mm socket to remove the bolt under here. It will depend on what hardware that you have your mirror attached with. Sometimes it can be a T50 Torx bit. So since we're transferring the actual mirror head over to a new mount, we have to detach the neck from this mirror bracket. So what I usually do is use a screwdriver and a hammer or a rubber mallet. And after the bolt's removed, you can insert the screwdriver here and whack it a couple of times and it should release the pin inside here to release the mirror off of the bracket. Now, I would have an extra hand when you're doing this because the mirror, if you don't have power or heated mirrors and have wires in there that actually connect this whole thing, the mirror will just pop off. So you want to make sure that you have a handle on the mirror before you actually take a swing at it. So I would like to mention before actually detaching this, if you do have power or heated mirrors, that you will need to disconnect 2 connectors behind the actual face of the mirror. So after everything's unattached, we can fully take off our doors. Now we can just repeat that process on the other side. So while I have the tube door on the table, I just wanted to point out a couple of things that I did notice. First of all, this is pretty skeletal compared to other tube doors on the market right now. However, that's to make it lightweight and really increase your visibility while you're out on the trail when you don't have that cover on it as you see on the page right now. However, this will be pretty solid, being made of 1.5-inch steel tubing with a black powder coat finish, so it will be able to hold its own on the trail, and the powder coat will resist any weathering or rust or corrosion, and it's really going to give it that rugged off-road look. So there are a couple of other things that I did notice on this door that I do really like. You do get this billet handle here for style as well as easy accessibility. Also on the other side of this panel here, you get a pretty small latch mechanism, so it's not big and bulky, and it seems like it does a pretty good job with the resistance in the handle that I see. So there are a couple of things that we have to piece together here on our door before we get this installed. We have to install our hinges as well as our limiting strap bracket and our mirror brackets. Let's go ahead and install these. So you're getting this billet handle here with the Smittybilt branding, which is a nice touch, and it is very easily accessible from the inside of the Jeep as well as the outside. So on the other side of the door, you have a small latch mechanism, which is a nice touch. A lot of other tube doors on the market will have a bigger mechanism that will sit here and make the door a little bit heavy and hard to maneuver. However, this is a very easy system to work with. So now we can install our hinge with a bolt and our washer and a nylon lock nut on the other side. So the trick to these is to keep all of the hardware loosely installed. So once we have it up on the door, we can adjust everything as needed to fit our handle and our hinges, and then we can tighten everything down so it fits perfectly. So after we're finished with the top one, we can move along to the bottom one. So I find it easier to put the nut underneath the assembly since there's not a lot of room to work with, and then put our bolt through. Thread it on that way. It's always easier once you get one installed. After those are loosely installed, we can move over to our mirror bracket. Then we can take our larger bolt and a washer and insert the bolt through, and then you can take a washer and the provided nylon lock nut and thread that onto the other side. You will need a washer on the other side because the hole on the door is actually larger to allow other aftermarket mirror installs. So since your mirror bracket doesn't require any adjustment at the end for total fitment, we can tighten those down with a 17mm wrench and a 16mm socket. So now we can install our limiting strap bracket at this time. You can use the Allen head bolts to thread into your door. Now I would recommend before installing these that you install your limiting strap. We will not be able to use the factory limiting strap on this because of the door wiring harness. However, limiting straps are very inexpensive online for aftermarket ones, and they're actually pretty easy to make. So in that case, you would just install your limiting strap, loop it around this bracket, and then let it hang while we install the rest of our door, and then you can attach it at the end. Now you can take a 5/32 Allen key and tighten those down. All right, now we can mock up our door. So now we're ready to fit our door. So first you want to get the hinges in the brackets. Like I said, this is gonna be the tricky part because they are loose. So after those are sitting in there, we can latch our door. So now that that's latched, we can tighten down all of our hardware because that's exactly where we want it to sit. So now that it's latched in and it's sitting where we want it to, we're gonna tighten it down with a 13mm socket and a 13mm wrench. The top bolts, because of our top hinge, will be a little bit hard to access, but we can tighten down this bottom bolt that will keep the hinge in place so we can open up our door and tighten the rest down. So now we can tighten down the bottom bolts. It might be a little bit easier to have your friend hold the door or have the door rest on something while you tighten everything down so you have everything in an ideal range of where you want it to latch into your door. So there is a rubber stop here to not allow the metal to make contact with the body of the Jeep. I removed this piece because it didn't allow our latch to actuate. However, if you did want to keep this on there to avoid metal-to-metal contact, you can just trim this down. But I just fully removed it with a flathead screwdriver, just popped it right out of the fitting here. So now we can go ahead and install our mirror. So now we can install our mirror with the factory hardware. This will fit into the bracket just like that, and we can thread our bolt through and tighten it down with our 12mm socket. So instead of using our factory hardware to secure down our hinges, Smittybilt provides us with a couple of nylon lock nuts. They also do provide you washers. You're not getting any metal on metal contact. So after you have that threaded on there, you can tighten it down with a 17mm Jeep socket. So you don't want to tighten those down too much, unlike our factory hardware that pivots inside the hinge. This will be on the outside. So if you tighten it down too much, the door will not be able to move back and forth freely. However, I do like how this is set up. It does latch like a regular door with the positive stop, and the billet handle really makes it look nice, and it functions pretty well. So one of the main purposes for these doors and why I really like these is that this is really versatile. So you could keep your doors like this, you can keep them plain and open and have a bunch of visibility on the trail, or you can put on your canvas cover. So this can either go on the front or the back of the door since it has heavy duty nylon buckles and straps. So you could either leave the plain side facing outward to protect yourself from any branches or low-hanging obstacles that might come through these holes in the tube door for you and your passengers, or you could flip it around to the other side and have a bunch of Molly and Powell style attachments to increase your storage inside the cab or even on the outside of your tube door. So now we can go ahead and strap on our cover. So you're going to want the door open for this for easy accessibility. Then you can lay this top portion flat over the top of the door and take your nylon straps and hook that through. So just like the hinge hardware, we're going to leave this loose so we can adjust it to where we want it, and then we can tighten down the straps at the end. Now, like I said, you can strap this the other way. You can strap it on the other side. You can really do whatever you want with these doors, and that's what I really like about them. So this vinyl here is going to be similar to a soft top vinyl. So while you have this installed, if you're on the trail and you encounter any branches or anything, this isn't going to be a flimsy fabric that will rip or tear. This is going to be able to hold up. It's actually pretty thick and heavyweight. So this is even going to be able to store a bunch of stuff on the inside without sagging or flopping around and being annoying. So I actually do like this material a lot. So after all of those are through, we can adjust it and tighten it down. So now we can do the same thing on the other side and start with our hinges. So that's going to wrap it up for my review and install. If you have an 07 to 18 JK Wrangler and you're looking for a pair of very functional and stylish tube doors, you can check out the Smittybilt SRC Gen2 tube doors right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.